This is MRN Out Loud on MRN.com, presented by Bloomin' Mondays at Outback Steakhouse. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Woody Kane alongside Joey Meyer, reviewing what happened at Michigan International Speedway and what we think might happen at Bristol Motor Speedway coming up this weekend. Saturday night racing under the lights. It's a tire and onion special. Hercules Tire giving away one free set of tires a month, and Kevin Harvick goes to victory lane. That means a top 10 finish. If you're watching on a Monday, you can go to Outback Steakhouse and tell them give you that free bloomin' onion.
Kevin's pretty happy at the end of the race.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think the beginning of the race worked out exactly the way he wanted to.
No, ran over something on the track, punctured a tire, later had a loose wheel on a pit stop, had to come back in, and still drove to the front as everybody else struggled to manage their fuel and make it to the end.
Isn't it amazing that we have 25 different tracks, I think, 24 different tracks, and every time we go to Michigan, it turns into
it doesn't matter what the package is. It doesn't matter anything.
It doesn't matter. Caution-free.
It could be a hurricane. It could be locust, whatever. We're going to have some fuel mileage fiascos at Michigan.
At Michigan. We go back to the Mark Martin days, Dale Jr., Dale Earnhardt, 70s, 80s, when they were 5 wide, upside down, on fire, except for they couldn't have been on fire because there was no gas.
Right.
It's always a fuel mileage race. And kudos to the track and NASCAR. You know what Michigan and Bristol have in common?
They both use the Tire Dragon and the PJ1.
And the PJ1. Kudos to those guys for actually attempting to widen the track out. And it was interesting because most tracks you widen out. Every track we've seen from the spray, you try to widen from the bottom to the top. They actually sprayed from the top to the bottom, essentially the third groove, middle groove, and higher, and allowed those guys realistically to use a wider portion of the track like we used to see in the olden days prior to the repave at Michigan. The trucks used it and the Cup cars used it very successfully, and I thought it made the racing significantly better, right?
I thought the truck guys were kind of avoiding it for the longest time until we got toward the end of the race, and then Jimmy Johnson went up there early in the Cup race and found the wall almost right away because guys say it's slick until it gets kind of worn in a little bit.
Yeah, you have to tread lightly, but it's like Velcro, right? You start with it, and finally it just grabs you and it gets you in there and holds you. I actually saw an incident on Saturday where Daniel Suarez got into the wall a little bit up in that PJ1, but he was able to keep going straight, and I thought that was a product of that spray that it actually allowed him not to completely.
Oh, you mean in practice?
In practice on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think that PJ1 prevented him from actually spinning all the way out. He was able to get up on the wall, as we saw with Jimmy and during the race. I think without the PJ1, that's a bigger wreck. I think they spin out. So the PJ1, in my opinion, was a good call. I hope we see it at different tracks. And whatever it takes, there's some criticism about having to spray the track. Well, it's no different than having to pave the track, right? It's what we're doing. Or
it's no different than the work they do at a dirt track.
Exactly right, when they're watering the track down. Absolutely. So the PJ1 is just another product that we keep our eyes and minds open to not just arguing about it, which is going to be my soapbox here in a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Not arguing about it for the sake of arguing, but realistically being open-minded. And I thought the PJ1, the track listened to the drivers, and they even came back Sunday and gave them about 3, 4, 5 more feet of it there in the center of both corners. And I think it really paid off. Multiple lanes. Kevin Harvick was
guys were at least getting 2 wheels in it.
Yep, and Kevin was one of the few. We saw him. He actually had all 4 through 3 and 4 the whole corner. Kyle Busch was up there. We tried to go up there with the 21 car. So it gave us options. We were significantly, let's put it this way, if you were close to that PJ1 with the right side tires, you were a full lane higher than we've seen in the past couple of years at Michigan.
Yeah, and it was definitely something to behold. Other notes from the weekend, Austin Cindric goes back-to-back, winning at Watkins Glen and then winning at Mid-Ohio. Nice recovery for Noah Gragson in that race after he got wrecked early and came back toward the front. Austin Hill wins his second race of the year in the truck race at Michigan. That was the regular season finale, and he now moves on to the playoffs with 7 other drivers, Matt Crafton being the last one. Second in points for Crafton, but the final playoff driver to make the field. And had one of those guys who was near the front, one of the KBM trucks with Harrison Burton or Todd Gilliland gone to victory lane, then Matt Crafton would have been knocked out of the playoffs. But they start their playoffs coming up at Bristol Motor Speedway this Thursday night. You can catch that right here live on the Motor Racing Network, and a lot of fun to see. But Kevin Harvick goes to victory lane, second time, as we mentioned. He won a year ago at Michigan. That was his 7th of the season, Joey. This time it's only his 2nd, and he talked a little bit about his success at MIS.
I think as I've been fortunate to come here through the years, I think our guys on our team would probably tell you the same thing. We probably feel like we should have won just about every race we've come to since I've been at Stewart Haas Racing when we've come to Michigan, and just one thing or another. And it seems like we've definitely got over that hurdle as we've run the last couple of years and been to victory lane. So it's been a racetrack, and it falls right into especially into the Ford wheelhouse from the engine standpoint, and our guys do a great job from a detail standpoint and just getting every possible thing out of the car that they can. And this is one of those weekends where they kind of turn you loose from the engine side and the oil side and attitude of the car. I mean, everybody wants to do well for their manufacturer here, and we've been fortunate to have a lot of fast cars.
And they go to victory lane. Keelan there, his son beside him. He picked him up, put him in the car, and did some burnouts with him, did a donut with him before he finished his on-track situation and went to victory lane. And that was actually cool to see as well. By the way, we need to mention Austin Hill is going to join us on the program here in just a few minutes, the winner of the race, the truck race at Michigan, and they'll open up the playoffs coming up Thursday, so stay tuned for that. But some other guys of note, Joey, who had nice days. You mentioned Daniel Suarez earlier, got into the fence in practice. They thought for a while they might have to go to a backup car, fixed it. He drives up to a 5th-place run, and that's significant in that playoff bubble battle because Clint Boyer and Jimmy Johnson both had trouble, so now Daniel Suarez is right back in the thick of it. We went in with those 4 guys around the bubble separated by 35 points. They kind of flip-flopped the order a little bit, but now they're only separated by 28.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's inside the door. Clint Boyer is on the door, and then outside you have Daniel Suarez and Jimmy Johnson, who at any given moment can just leapfrog either Clint or Ryan. Yeah. And, of course, we go to a very tame track this weekend where really nothing ever happens.
Not much is going to happen at Bristol.
It's going
to be calm.
Exactly right.
That's exactly what we expect.
It's easy to get around and avoid other people's wrecks as well.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Move along. All right, we'll do the same. We'll take a timeout here on MRN Out Loud. Don't forget Austin Hill's going to join us in just a few minutes, and we'll talk some Xfinity racing a little bit later on as well.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules. Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
It wasn't just built to be a museum. It was built to be a shrine to the history, heritage, and future of the sport we love. This is our house, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and it's packed full of classic and present-day cars, including Petty's, Earnhardt's, and Waltrip's, as well as interactive experiences, realistic racing simulators, and much more. Plan a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Tickets at NASCARHall.com. NASCAR Hall of Fame. This is our sport. This is our house.
Jeff Gordon has come from virtually nowhere.
He's one of NASCAR's all-time greats.
For the 93rd time in his career.
A pioneering champion.
Be at the right place at the right time.
The kid who took on the good old boys and changed NASCAR.
We started to go toe-to-toe from Earnhardt.
MRN presents a 10-part podcast series that traces Jeff Gordon's rise to NASCAR legend. Jeff Gordon, the colorful career of the Rainbow Warrior. Available now at MRN.com and your favorite podcast source.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse and Hercules Tires. Stay tuned because we'll tell you how you can get involved and maybe win a free set of tires. They're giving away one a month, and we'll have you all set up for that a little bit later on in the program. We talked a little bit about the Xfinity Series. Austin Cindric wins again, back-to-back road course victories. We knew this was going to be a strong point of the season for him, but now he is really setting himself up to be one of those guys who might be able to accumulate enough points that it'd be hard to derail him before we get to Homestead. We've been talking about the big three all year and who might be that other guy. A lot of people thought it would be Justin Allgaier, but suddenly here comes Cindric.
Well, and you have we expected this 2 to 3 shows ago. We talked about the 3 guys that I was looking forward to at the road course. And last week, we saw A.J. Allmendinger and Austin Cindric battle it out. This weekend, we saw Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, and A.J. Allmendinger again battling it
Cole
out.
Custer was up there, too. Yeah.
Exactly right. We go to Bristol, which will be a little different for every guy, but we still have one more road course left for those guys to still battle it out. And again, I think you go in there looking at Road America with Austin Cindric, a clear favorite. Allmendinger will be right there with him. Christopher Bell. Those guys are going to compete.
Regan Smith will be good there, too.
Exactly right. So it's another handful of guys that we look forward to. But it was a great race called, great race driven, very few mistakes by the guys that were running up front. And I think the guys that don't run up front can look at the guys that do and really learn on how not to make mistakes. Because what happens is we saw a couple of guys over there at the Gibbs camp. They brought in a guy that's not familiar with the NASCAR side.
After the whole Jeffrey Earnhardt fiasco, whatever happened there, it was an odd situation. And next thing you know, they're putting a guy in the car and everybody's going, who's that?
Right.
And A.J. Allmendinger tweeted out, hey, this guy can wheel a car.
Yeah, Jack Hawksworth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's the guy that I think.
That sounds like a Bond villain or something, doesn't it?
But he ended up finishing 15th, but he had a lot more speed. And as we know at these road courses, that Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, Allmendingers, those guys don't make mistakes. They may not be the blazingly fastest car, but with a lack of mistakes, you can stay up front. And Jack Hawksworth, I think, can learn from those guys if he has another opportunity over there with the Gibbs cars.
And before we forget the other guy in the big three, we talked about Custer, Bell, and then Tyler Reddick, a fourth-place run at Mid-Ohio. Noah Gragson had a wrecked race car and drove it up to a top 5 finish. Justin Allgaier sixth. Yep. Chase Briscoe is turning out to be a pretty good road course racer, and he even says he doesn't consider himself that way. But, man, he's run well on road courses and is making some noise of his own here coming down the stretch. And they will, of course, not be running this weekend. They'll take the Mid-Ohio coming up next for them. And then, well, actually, they will. It'll be Mid-Ohio, the next road course event on the schedule. But they are coming down the stretch run in terms of setting their playoff field as well. The trucks are all set. As we mentioned, we'll talk with Austin Hill a little bit about that in a moment. But there were some surprises there, some guys that we thought might make that field and wound up not getting there. Guys like a Ben Rhodes, like a Harrison Burton, like a Todd Gilliland, and really good equipment.
Yeah, those are the 3 right there that come to mind that are the shockers of not making the playoffs. Ben Rhodes, every week contending for a win.
All 3 of those guys led at Michigan, too.
Is it? And then you expect KBM trucks. This will be the first time we haven't seen a KBM truck in the playoffs, let alone one driver, but the entire company's not in the playoffs. I know Kyle, as well as I think I know Kyle, it's got to be foaming at the mouth, realizing how much of a missed opportunity that both of those young drivers did. And it wasn't from a lack of performance. It was really just like we talked 2 seconds ago about the road course guys making mistakes. It was really just not capitalizing on their performance with small wrecks here or there and making the mistakes not to capitalize when you're having a quote-unquote bad day running 5th or 6th or whatever the case is and not bringing home the truck 5th or 6th and wrecking it. We go back and look at the Burtons and the Gillians.
To be fair, they're both very young drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and you expect that. But that's where this learning curve has. Now, what I expect to see from those guys is now the pressure of making the playoffs and the disappointment gets to settle in. You still have a handful of races to race in 2019 to take the advantage of it. Okay, we're not in the playoffs. Let's look forward to 2020 and really capitalize and learn for the rest of this year. And I think that's what we're going to see. It's not going to surprise me as we sit right here in this show on a Monday after a race weekend to see either Burton, Ben Rhodes, or Gillian in victory lane.
Yeah, we can definitely. They have shown the speed. They just haven't been able to get to victory lane. Is there anything to the thought that, Kyle Busch ran his allotted 5 races in the Truck Series? It's his team. He loves to do it. He wants to keep doing it. Is there anything to the thought that maybe those times that he went to victory lane kind of took an opportunity away from one of his other trucks?
Again, we talk, the reason he's in the truck is to provide the money. Without him doing it, those guys don't get the opportunity. We could do hypotheticals all day long,
right?
But the facts are the 5 races that Kyle ran allows him the financial support to do the Natalie Deckers, the Harrison Burtons, and the Todd Gillians to allow them the opportunity to run those races. So I think that's the best opportunity for those kids to run is whenever you have Kyle in a truck.
Speaking of Natalie Decker, she's going to be on the show here with us shortly. I think next week, right? Yeah, so that's going to be interesting as well. And she's had a season, her first with DGR Crosley Racing. So we'll have a chat with her next week on the program here when we talk about what's ahead for her and what's coming up.
Yeah, anybody that looks at a Truck Series race, and we talk about it being the third tier, trucks, Xfinity, and then Cup, anybody that thinks truck racing is easy because we see a Kyle Busch get in, just drive around wide open. Clearly, guys and girls like Natalie Decker, Gillians, Rhodes, Burtons, they're going to come here and go, this stuff's hard. It's still very, very hard. Guys that have done, when you look at Grant Enfinger won the points championship.
And the 15 bonus points that come with being the regular season champion.
Didn't win a race.
Right.
But that was how.
Neither did Matt Crafton, a two-time champion.
It's exactly right. But by not making the mistakes, what we saw was Grant Enfinger actually got more points by simply winning the points championship than he would have had he won one or two races.
It's definitely the math caught a couple of guys and helped a couple of guys there down the stretch in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series as we look forward to what we might expect from both of those series coming up at Bristol. Trucks on Thursday, Xfinity on Friday, Cup on Saturday night under the lights there. 3 straight night races is going to be interesting to watch.
Well, guys are already complaining or talking about or arguing or giving an opinion about the PJ1 that we mentioned earlier in the show. And the PJ1, the spray, VHT, whatever you want to call it, was applied at Michigan. And right away, the bird chirpers come out. And this is a good opportunity for me to jump on my soapbox.
Oh, here we go. All right, let's have it.
And give an example of people in today's time simply want to argue. I love a good discussion. You and I have had some flaming discussions, but when
not all of them on the air.
No, but when we're done, we totally disagree sometimes,
and that's fine.
Right, but you had a educated opinion, and I had a dumb educated opinion, and we chose to disagree. I get it. So I love social media. I really do. I love the ability to be involved in a sport that I understand I'm not one of the superstar guys.
But people are passionate about it.
Absolutely, but it gives a regular fan an opportunity to talk to somebody that's involved in the sport, which we didn't have, 10, 5, 6, 7 years ago. This weekend I tweeted, because I was watching practice on Saturday, and I loved what I was seeing. I loved the fact that the car simply, 2-3 years at Michigan, when you came out for practice, you didn't want to be around anybody, okay? Because you
wanted to find out where your car could go and have all the room in the world.
Be by yourself, right? Now we go out of Michigan, and it looks like a restrictor plate race.
It does.
It's really, really cool. So I had tweeted this. Say what you want about the 2019 package. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but holy cow, does it fit Michigan perfectly, right? It was just an observation. I said, I love spotting this. A guy writes me back right away and says, I highly disagree. Okay, to me, that's an opening. Let's talk about this. So I write him. I said, I'm assuming you're either at Michigan or watching it on TV. As a race fan, what would you like to see more of? He goes, oh, I'm not watching.
Well, then how do you know?
Correct. He's like, and that was one of those stupid things. And again, we're arguing. We have an opinion about the PJ1. Well, that's a fake thing, and we're creating racing. And wait a minute, we're creating racing. That's what we're trying to do here. Whether it's the 550 package, whether it's the big spoiler, whether it's the brake ducts,
or
whether
tires,
it's PJ1,
or
whatever the case may be, whether it's a new body style, whether it's a composite, everything we're doing, we're trying to create better racing. And what we're doing is by getting the cars equal, or the engines equal, or the tracks equal, it allows the drivers that are better to showcase their skills. Now, we know Kyle Busch was upset because he felt like his skills weren't able to be showcased to a broader degree with a better race car. He wants his race cars to be better so that he can be better than everybody else.
Well, so does every driver.
Exactly. But some of the most exciting, and I was so fortunate to be around during this portion of racing, was the IROC series, where these guys took 6, 7, 8, 10 cars, tried to identically prepare them. Dave Marcus was one of the test drivers, and they would jump in all these cars and try to make them identical and then put all these drivers in. Some of the best racing ever.
So that the car wasn't the determining factor.
Exactly
the theory
right.
was
That's
it was
it.
the driver.
But we saw guys like Martin Truex Jr., Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, Al Unser Jr., all these guys rise to the top and were able to beat their peers. And that's what we're doing. Every time we do something on the track, let's not disagree with it before we've even had a chance to see it, for goodness sakes. Give it an opportunity, open your mind a little bit and say, this has the potential of being really cool. Whether it's,
or at least watch it before you say something is bad. Yeah.
Right. And then I could have been completely wrong on Sunday, but I still felt the racing was better this Sunday than it was the previous Sunday at Michigan. And that's what I just open your mind a little bit, allow the change to be accepted, whether it's tires, whether it's engine packages, whether it's the spray. Sometimes we do things and we're not always going in the right direction, but we're trying to. There hasn't been one decision made, guaranteed, not one decision made. They're like, well, this is going to suck, but we're going to do it anyway.
Right. That's not the way most decisions get made.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're trying to get better, and I believe we did a good job with the PJ1, and we're going to see it again this weekend at Bristol.
Absolutely. There was a rumor going around that they might not use it at Bristol, and I was talking with Chase Elliott about it, and he said, I hope that's not really what they're thinking.
No.
It's been successful when they've been putting it on the bottom, and they drift up through the race, and then you wind up being at the top by the end of the show. All right, we got a special guest coming up next here on MRN Out Loud. Austin Hill, the winner at Michigan. He also won at Daytona. He's about to enter the playoffs in the Gander Outdoor Truck Series coming up this Thursday at Bristol.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre-cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away one set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
Veteran drivers and rookie drivers. NASCAR Today Midday keeps you up to date with all your favorites each weekday.
It's a dream come true. A lot of you know the path that I've gone down.
There's a lot of opportunity with the package changes, with the Chevrolet and the work they're putting in. And I know one thing's for sure, it's good to have my name on top of the Cup car.
Don't miss any of the breaking NASCAR news with NASCAR Today Midday. Only on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Stay tuned. We're going to tell you how you might be able to win a free set of tires from Hercules Tires before the end of the program. But right now, a special guest back on the program, Austin Hill, the winner at Michigan in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series, the regular season finale, his second victory of the season. And now he's headed to Bristol this week to open the playoffs there. Austin, congratulations, man. That was a crazy race. I think there were probably like 8, maybe even more guys who had a legitimate shot at winning that thing toward the end.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on, guys. But yeah, I mean, it was such a wild race, especially for us. We had to come from the back, I think 4 different times. Our pit stops, we were having a little bit of an issue on the right front tire, getting it on and off. So yeah, we had to come from the back, and then I ended up speeding on pit road one time, and then I chose the wrong lane on a restart trying to make some ground, and ended up falling back to like 20th. So I had to come from the back quite a few times, but man, our truck was so fast. And after we ran a few laps, we could really actually work the bottom really good and make passes on the bottom. And I know a lot of guys, they had to just kind of stay nose to tail. They couldn't drive in and complete the pass when they would try to do it on the bottom. And I think that was the big difference maker for us, was we were able to, once 5 to 10 laps got into a run, we could really work that bottom really good and clear guys before the center of the corner and take their line away. And I think that ultimately is what kind of set us up for being up front there at the end and coming home with the win.
Yeah, you run in the bottom lane there at Michigan. Were you not a proponent of the PJ1, or you didn't find an advantage, or realistically the bottom lane was simply faster for you?
Well, it seemed like any time that I tried to enter in the PJ1 and stay in it, for whatever reason, our truck would get kind of tight. And so it seemed like if I stayed in the second lane up or right on the bottom lane, wrapping that white line, it just seemed like we made a lot better lap times doing that. And it just seemed like I could kind of enter a little bit earlier than the guys in front of me and keep air on the nose doing it that way. And it would actually benefit me having air on the nose to really wrap the corner and stay pretty much almost wide open when I was trying to make passes. So, our truck, it started off a little free, and we came down the first stop and got it tightened up. We actually were a little on the tight side throughout a run, but it actually helped me out because any time that I was side drafting and I was beside somebody on entry of the corner, I could just stay wide open all the way to the center. And as soon as my spotter would stay clear, I would take the line away. And if I had to play with the throttle or whatever I needed to do on the exit of the corner, I would do that. But it just kind of gave me options to really attack the corners. I didn't have to do a big arc. I could really attack the corners, and it stayed stable really the whole race once we got it tightened up. But I mean, there again, I mean, I can't thank Hino and Ison and Guy Reynolds enough for coming on board. I thought the truck was awesome on the racetrack, and like I said, our Toyota Tundra was so fast. It's a brand new truck for us, so that's the first race on it. So we're 1 for 1 with it. So I'm excited to get it back out on the racetrack. It probably won't go back out on the racetrack again until maybe Las Vegas, but I'm excited to see that thing go out there again and see what it can do.
4 guys led double-digit laps. 6 guys led at least 9 laps in that race. Very competitive. And now with the playoffs looming, that's got to make you think, man, there's a lot of guys who really have a legitimate shot at this championship. I mean, some of the guys may only have 1 win. A 2-time champion in Matt Crafton didn't get a win. Neither did Grant Enfinger, who gets the regular season title along the way. The playoffs should be pretty wild. I mean, what are you thinking in terms of there aren't really that many clear favorites, are there?
No, I don't really think that there's any, clear favorites. I know, Grant, he hasn't won a race this year, but he's been really consistent every race, and that's why he was the regular series, champion. But so I think he's going to be strong. I think Moffitt, him being the champion last year, and knowing what he needs to do to get to the final 4 and having that experience, I think he's going to be really good. And then you can't ever count out Johnny or Crafton, but I think all 8 of us, it's just going to be whoever can put together the best 3 races going forward to get locked into the top 6, and then starting over and having some good races again.
Survive in advance.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. If you can go out there and get a win early, that obviously locks you in. So that's our number 1 goal.
Austin, so you look ahead, and we all say, I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to lose the championship in this first round of 3. But what race of the next 3 do you think you can capitalize on? You've got Bristol, you've got the road course, and then Las Vegas. Which race will you think you can perform the best at?
I kind of think I'm really confident in the road course. I've always felt like I can kind of get around a road course fairly decent. K&N wise, we always had speed, but we just never could come home with a win. So I think we have a really good shot there. But I'm also very excited to go back to Las Vegas. We were very fast at Las Vegas early in the season. We actually had an overheating issue that caused us to get out of the race, but I think we were running 3rd before that happened. So really it's kind of hard to decide on the road course or Las Vegas. I really feel like definitely Las Vegas, we have a really good chance at winning.
Especially if you take that Michigan truck back there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably lean a little bit toward Las Vegas just because the road course is kind of up in the air. You just never know what's going to happen. You gotta run a perfect race for sure. And I feel like Bristol's probably actually one of our weaker tracks. We've just short track wise, we've kind of been just a little off this year, and just trying to find a balance on what I like and what I need to run up front. So Bristol's obviously our number 1 goal is to go out there and have a good finish at Bristol. And if we can come home with a win, obviously we're going to do everything in our power to make it happen. But the number 1 goal is to just get a solid top 10 out of Bristol and go on to the next one and really fight for a win the other 2 races.
Well, let me ask you this now. You mentioned Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in 2 weeks. I think I know the answer based on past history there, not from you, but from the whole field. Would you rather be leading or in second on the last lap in Canada?
Oh man, I'd probably say the way the races have went in the past, you kind of want to be in second because when you're in the lead, you're very vulnerable, and especially if it's say I'm leading and one of the top 8 guys are in second, they're all over my back bumper. They're going to do everything they can to win that race because then that locks them into the next round, and vice versa. If I'm running second, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to get around that guy and get myself locked in to the next round. So, I really think every race is kind of that way. If you got a guy the 2 guys that are fighting for the championship, if they're running 1-2, that guy in second is going to do everything in his power to get around the leader on the last lap because he knows that locks him into the next round. So,
and if he's in the same zip code, you have to
crazy.
slow down so much in that last turn that he's going to catch you.
Oh yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, if he's close enough to you, he's gonna get to you. So, I think any of the races, it's going to be crazy if you see 2 of the playoff guys running 1-2 on the white flag, but especially Canada. That whole last lap and how long of a lap it is to go around that place. Especially when you get to the slower sections, that the push is going to be coming. You just got to try to hold on to it.
Let's finish up with Bristol right quick. You mentioned there that you think that might not be your best of these 3 coming up. How do you feel about the PJ1 there over the past few years that they've been putting around the bottom and how it progresses through the race?
Well, it's really not done very good benefits for me in the past. I don't know if it's just something that I do there or the setups that we ran there in the past, but we've just, man, when I ran with Young's last year and when we ran our own stuff, we just always seemed to struggle there. Last year, I think we were going to have a decent run last year, and we actually had a tire get cut down. We were running somewhere around 10th or 11th, and it was going to be a decent run for our team. And so yeah, I mean, I think that they changed it a little bit again this year with the PJ1. I haven't quite seen pictures yet, but just from what I've heard and from kind of rumors going around, I think it's changed a little bit more to where it's even skinnier down on the bottom. So I kind of like that idea because it might give you some better options to be able to run the middle or even up against the wall throughout the race. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Bristol's just one of those, get up on the wheel and beat and bang, and hopefully you can be there at the end. So it's going to be a wild one for sure.
There you go. That's Austin Hill. He drives for Hattori Racing Enterprises, trying to bring them their 2nd straight championship, 2 victories on the season, including the regular season finale. Now they head to Bristol this coming Thursday night for the playoff opener. You can hear that one right here live on the Motor Racing Network. Austin, congratulations, and wish you good success in the playoffs.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good job, man.
Yeah, there you go. And boy, he's right. That will be a different beast if they kind of skinny up that PJ1 down in that bottom line to try and create a little bit of a different dynamic than what we've seen in the past few years.
Making his first playoff run in a truck that won the championship last year, racing against the driver that was in his truck a year ago.
How odd must that be?
Right. It's just a small subset of what we have when we look at the Ross Chastain, who 5 weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, wasn't even in the point standings of the trucks.
Right.
He changed his thoughts mid-process and go,
like, 7 races in or something?
I think I can do this over in the Truck Series, where he knew he couldn't do it points-wise in the Xfinity side. Now he's clearly in, so that's a heck of a – and he's like it's a small team, that little Nice Motorsports.
Yeah. And they had a fantastic truck at Michigan and then got crashed into on pit road.
Exactly right. So I think that's one of the smaller, again, subset stories that we're looking for. Austin Hill, 2 wins, Daytona, now Michigan, racing that championship truck against Brett Moffitt over at GMS at a larger team. A lot of good stories coming out in those next 3 races. But again, what a great series with Bristol, the road course, and then Las Vegas.
A lot of drama coming on in those 3 tracks. All right, one more break here on MRN Out Loud. We'll tell you how you can get involved and maybe win a free set of tires from Hercules Tire after this.
They're free.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
It wasn't just built to be a museum. It was built to be a shrine to the history, heritage, and future of the sport we love. Visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame and see how Petty, Earnhardt, and hundreds of other NASCAR legends became heroes. Watch their most electrifying moments, experience realistic racing simulators, and much more. Plan a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Tickets at NASCARHall.com. NASCAR Hall of Fame. This is our sport. This is our house.
Winged Nation, your go-to for winged sprint car talk, news, and information. Find all the episodes of Winged Nation on your favorite podcast platforms. Steve Post, Ashley Stremme, and Aaron Evernhead go in-depth with the race winners and personalities from dirt tracks all across America. Like Winged Nation on Facebook. Follow Winged Nation on Twitter. You'll get stories and information and live broadcasts of Winged Nation shows from some of the top dirt tracks in the nation. Winged Nation, your home for winged sprint cars.
You know, every week we try to give away free onions. Being Kevin Harvick, it's up to him.
We have to have some help for that.
Yeah, we play with our little Joey.
No. That's not a we situation there. That's a you
off the
situation.
Record. I'll play with mine.
All right.
But you might be sitting at home going, all right, how do I get my free onion? Kevin Harvick won. That's easy enough. But how do I get my free tires? Every single month, Hercules is giving away a free set of tires. But how do we do it?
All right.
Go register at HerculesTire.com/MRN. That's what we are. We're MRN. So it's HerculesTire.com/MRN. Simple.
All you got to
register every month. Free set of tires. Hercules Tire. Go pick up your free onion after you get your free set of tires. It's that simple.
All right. They'll have a winner every single month. So make sure you have to register, though. Must be present to win. All right. We're heading to Bristol coming up this weekend. All three series running there. A triple header Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Brad Keselowski talks about the racing at the, I want to say Half Mile of Mayhem, but that's not right. Up in Thunder Valley this weekend.
Well, the Bristol Night Race is a very special race. Always has been. And it continues to almost grow in its status when we think about the crown jewel races of NASCAR. It's right on the fringe of being one. I think you look at the race winners of the past 2 or 3 decades, and they're all what I would consider Hall of Fame level drivers. And looking at that gives the race a lot of credibility. I would also say that the track has changed a lot with different configurations and pavements and grindings and PJ1s. There's been a whole list of things that has happened to that track over the last decade or so, and that's changed it up a lot. But it's still the same Bristol, and it's still a really tough racetrack where things happen very fast.
He's 100% right about all of that, but I'm really interested in what Austin Hill was telling us about maybe a narrower grip strip, if you will, at the bottom. How might that impact things, do you think?
So the wider it is, the more room that guy on the bottom has to move around. Well, if the guy on the bottom's moving around more, that takes away a portion of the track that can be used from that high groove. Well, if you keep that guy solidly on the bottom lane, then that high lane, middle lane tends to open up a little bit more for the exit or entrance to get around somebody. You're simply making the track wider by making the PJ grip strip a little closer, a little narrower, forcing that guy to keep his left sides on that spray strip.
And that's going to be an interesting phenomenon because typically what we see is we kind of start at the bottom and then they move up, and by the end of the race, everybody seems to want to be at the top.
Well, because it does wear out. Unfortunately, it is a spray that's covered on top. They use the tire dragon to try to push it into the concrete. But unfortunately, when you have 38 to 40 race cars that weigh 3,400 pounds going 120-plus miles an hour, it does wear it out.
Even if you reapply it overnight after every race.
It's 500 laps. It's irrelevant. You're not painting that concrete. It's simply a coating or a sealant, like you much would your deck for waterproofing. Interesting comment by Brad, and I just looked it up really quickly. When he talks about the last decade of drivers that have won the races at Bristol. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth, Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, takes you all the way back to 2012.
Is this just the night race?
This is for Bristol. So these are all Bristol races just in itself, right? Every one of those guys, just about minus the Carl Edwards and Casey Kane, and Denny Hamlin are all champions. You know, it's an interesting fact that, Brad's won there several times, but he not only includes himself as a past champion, but just about every past winner, minus the Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, and Denny Hamlin, which takes us all the way back to 2012, are champions. That's interesting that he points that out. And again, all those guys that we mentioned are Hall of Famers eventually. They will be
sooner
in
or
the
later.
Hall of
Yeah,
Fame. Yeah,
you would think so as well.
Yep.
All right, we got a big week coming up here on the Motor Racing Network. It all starts off on Tuesday night, NASCAR Live, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Mike Bagley is your host, and if you heard our pre-race show at Michigan this weekend, you heard Rusty Wallace and his chat with Roger Penske, the captain. Now, we only ran about half of that. The other half is going to be on NASCAR Live this week, Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Then we move on to Thursday, truck racing, the season opener in the playoffs, the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, the UNOH 200 presented by Ohio Logistics. That comes your way here on the Motor Racing Network at 8 o'clock Eastern Time Thursday night. Make sure you're here for that. Then our friends at the Performance Racing Network take over for Friday night's Xfinity Series race and Saturday night's Cup race at Bristol. Check MRN.com under the shows tab. You can find the program schedule there for everything going on. I'm Woody. That's Joey. We'll see you right back here next week.